Hello everybody and welcome back to G-Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. And yeah, we're going to be doing a review today on the SIEKON energy battery, the SIEKON LiFePo4 battery. This is a 12.8 volt, 100 amp hour classic. And this is in the Group 31 size. Now the Group 31 size, basically, all that is the outside packaging of it. On the inside, it's the same thing as a standard sized LiFePo4 battery. It's got the same exact cells and all of that. Now, this thing has Class A EVE cells, or Class A plus EVE cells in it. And there's been a lot of reviews on all of the different batteries and what they have inside. Well, some people tear them apart and show you all of the electronics, and they call them by their technical names, and they confuse the heck out of you. And you look at them and saying, I don't know what you're talking about. So I do the simple thing. We're going to run a real life test on the battery to see what it will do. We'll see how it functions. We'll see how strong it is. Now, others have done with special testing equipment. Others have tested them and found out that they exceed the 100 amp hour rating by anywhere from 104 to 105 amp hours. So that part is already settled by everybody who's done a test on these things. All right, now it does say right here the Group 31 size on there, and it's got other information on the front of the battery. The rest of the battery all the way around, I'm not going to turn it because I got it wired right now. The rest of the battery all the way around is just white. All right, and it's got a strap on the top, as you can see. I have my gauge up on top there, and I have the 20 amp charger charging the battery. The green light is on, meaning the battery is fully charged. So we want to be fair with this, so that's why I did that. So every time before I test anything, I will bring it back to a full charge just like this. And I will leave the charge controller on the top, which shows the different battery voltages in there. Right now it's showing that it's at 13.7 volts, but that's going to drop as soon as I unplug the charger. The green light should go out in a second. There it goes. All right, so let's see what we're at now. Oh, it's still holding at 13.7 for right now, but I've got to take off one of these and then reconnect it. And yeah, it's holding 13.7. That's the highest I've ever seen it, and I've charged it a couple of times running through different tests. I will be editing a bunch of different videos together after this video is done. So for today, I do have my computerized stopwatch set up over there, and that's ready to go. I want to show you over here. This is the box that I received it in, and there is inside of this box is another box, and then this type of foam. This was on top of the battery. These cutouts were where the two battery posts are, but they have this lining the inside of the inner box. On the bottoms and sides, so that's the protection it came with. Okay, so let's swing back around this way, and I'll show you one more thing before we get going. Here is the battery pack bolts that it comes with, and these caps right here are the ones that came in shipping, the protective white caps, and they kind of screw into the threaded holes in the tops of the terminals. Then you get your positive and negative protective caps here for after you hook it up in your RV or wherever it's going to go. All right, so that being said, like I always say, let's get one more thing going here before I hit the switches on. All right, so inside this manual, which is a very nicely put together manual, we're going to come in here and show you the specs. All right, now on the specs you can see everything that's on there. You see the max charge, continuous charge and discharge is 100 amps. So that means it's got 100 amp BMS. Now from other videos I've watched on this, I understand it has a rated 150 amp BMS, but don't push it past 100 amp. That's where you're supposed to be at your safe point. Okay, your voltage windows is 10 to 14.6, and recommended charge voltage is 14.6, and that's what these LiFePo4 battery chargers charge at. And cutoff voltage is at 10 volts. So once you get down to 10 volts, that's your basically dead battery. That's like your 100% point. All right. So it's got all of this information, and then finally the final specs. So it does have overcharge over current or charging over current protection, discharge over current protection. It has short circuit protection. It has high temperature protection in charging and low temperature protection in charging. It has high temperature protection in discharge and low temperature protection in discharge. Okay, so it has all of the stuff that you want in a LiFePo4 battery. Now this is a budget battery, but it is put together like a top class Class A battery. It does have the Class A plus EVE cells inside of it. I've seen that on other videos when they've torn them open and looked at the insides of them. If you want to see that, I'm sure you can find loads of videos on these. But I'm going to do the real-time test here now. We're going to get started. And it's going to take a bunch of hours, so I will cut the video and then come back to it when the system shuts down. So here we go. Let me get it back over here so you can see the gauge when it starts up, and we'll see what this is. This plug is the freezer down below, and this is a mini freezer, and I've showed it before in other videos. It's a freezer, and it's not refrigerator, it's only a freezer. So here we go. Fired right up, showing that we have a full charge in there, and it's pulling, it was 180 volts, but that's volts. So let's go to watts. It's pulling 75, 74, it's about 75 watts right now. So that means that the compressor has fired up, and it's just getting started at the compressor stage. Okay, now that's going to settle down normally to somewhere in the 60s, but for right now it's running the compressor full force to cool down my freezer. So we're going to come over here and hit the start button. Let me see if I can get on there and start. And I'll show you that the timer is running. So we can stand here for the next bunch of hours and stare at all of this stuff, but that's going to be boring, right? So after this, I will be doing other tests on this battery, and I will edit those into the main video, and we'll go from there, right? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're going to cut off here for a little while. Hello, everybody. We've been running for a little over 12.5 hours now, and I want to show you something here. Look at this. I'm still up in the 13 volt area. This is 13 volts. This thing is running really, really well today. It's handling this freezer without a problem. Well, it's like It's like midnight or so, something here. Let's see. Oh no, it's only a little after 11 p.m. But I'm pretty exhausted. So this time I'm going to pause this video and we'll pick it up. I'll be getting up a couple of times during the night and checking it and see if it's still running or if it's out or what. But I have a feeling we're going to go well over the 13.5 hours that the last test on this with the other battery went. This is really running well. This is the SIEKON 12.8 volt 100 amp hour battery in the Group 31, and that's the classics. It is a little bit cooler today than it was when I ran the other tests, and that could have an effect on it too, because the refrigerator or the freezer during really hot weather, of course, runs more often. But I've been in and out of this thing with the door open probably a half a dozen times today, so we'll see. And here we go on pause again. Well, good morning everybody, and we're back here this morning. I did get up a couple of times during the night, and I was surprised to see that everything was still running. Look at this. But right now we're down to 11.4 volts. Got 2 lights lit up here and out of the 4. So there's still some power left in this battery to run this freezer. And right now it's idling. It's not running because it's down to temp. But you can see the voltage here is coinciding with up there. It's below 12 volts, so it won't be much longer now and this is going to cut off. I'm going to call this a print, and I will let it run until it does completely cut off, and I will let you know the time. I'll just take a snapshot of the time and edit it into this video, because I'd say this is a success. Now the only thing I want to mention on here is that the difference between this experiment and the last experiment when I ran the freezer is that right now we're not in a heat wave. The last one I was in the middle of a heat wave where it was 100 degrees during the day and down in the low 80s at Fahrenheit at night. But it's been getting down in the 50s at night here in the last few days, so that's a different story. And it only got up into the low 90s yesterday, so there is a difference in the ambient temperatures, but it still proves that you could run a refrigerator, a modern refrigerator, or a mini freezer for better than 20 hours. So if you had a small 200 or 300 watt solar panel set up going through a small charge controller like that on one of these batteries, you'd have no problem maintaining your food in a refrigerator or a freezer off grid as you got going, as you got set up and ready to do your real thing and put in your main solar system. So in conclusion to this video, or this part of the video, I would say this is a 100% success. Very good results from this battery. I'm happy with it. Another good battery company out there that really gives you what they say they're going to give you. So thank you for joining me on this, and stay tuned for the next part of this, which will be edited into this. Okay, everybody, this is Second part of the video added in, and we just finished the charging time. You can see the green light on the charger. That tells me that it's fully charged. I just shut off the timer at 5 hours, 15 minutes, 14 seconds and plus, We'll call it 5:15. 5 hours and 15 minutes is the official time. And as we look over here, people wanted to know what the full charge of a battery was. 13.5 volts is what it says. That dropped to 13.4, but it'll bounce back and forth. Now, also another thing on LiFePo4 is after you fully charge them, they tell you to let them sit for a while because once they sit, they settle in and the voltage will change a little bit. We'll check this again next time I'm out here ready to do an addition to this sequence, and we will, or sequel, not sequence, and we'll see what it says. Okay, G-Bear signing off temporarily. Hello everybody, I'm back, and we're here to put this SIEKON battery under a load test. And it's not the standard load test that you're used to seeing on YouTube with all the guys with all their fancy equipment tied up to it. We're going to do a real-time load test. So when somebody says, how long will that battery last if I run this on it? Or how long will it last if I run that on it? So on this part, we're going to run at 5,000 BTU, window air conditioner. I had to tilt the camera here, and we're going to see how long it will actually run. Now you'll be able to see when I fire it up, you'll be able to see the watt numbers on here, how many watts it's drawing. Its initial startup, it's going to give a surge, but then it'll settle down and it'll go a little bit lower than that. But we'll run it until the battery dies and can no longer run the inverter. And this will be running through, the Harbor Freight 2 to 4,000 watt inverter. That's what it says right there, 2 to 4,000 watt. And this is the test of the 12.8 volt 100 amp hour SIEKON brand classics in the size 31, BCI group 31, which is a standard large size battery that everybody is probably using in their RVs. All right, I have the timer set up over here, and I just got a notice on my unit, so let's close that. And we got the arrow on the start button ready to go. So to be absolutely fair, you can see the green light on the charger here. I charged this completely right to the top right now. The green light showing that it's fully charged. The gauge on the top here is showing that it's got 13.5 volts in the battery. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the power cord on the charger right there. And the light went out, as you can see. All right. So we're ready to start now. We're at 13.5 volts with a fully charged battery. And I'm going to flip this switch on, which will start it. And at the same time, I'm going to click the timer and get the timer started. But if we have a couple of seconds lapse in between it, we're not concerned with a couple of seconds. We want to know minutes and hours, right? All right, so here we go. Power on. Air conditioner on. Power in is 120.9 volts. Watts 448, 438, 428, 429, 431. So that's where we're setting right now, as you can see. So we're going to turn over this way, and I'm going to click the button. Oh, why didn't you start? Come on. There we go. And we're going to get going on the timer. So I will stop this video and come back to it when the inverter starts squawking, saying, hey, there's no more power. I can't run anymore. My feet are tired. All right. So I'm going to pause this off and we'll get back a few hours or so down the line. So I have a record of this. Now we are gone. Okay, I'm back, and we went 2 hours and 20 minutes on that run of the SIEKON battery running the window air conditioner. And that's considerably lower than the last one. I mean, considerably lower, I mean by over an hour difference. And I'm not sure what happened there, but to be sure, I'm probably going to run